and what the consequences of that may be. Casey?
All right, Evan Perez up for us with that breaking news. Evan, thank you very much. And I want to turn now to the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. Sir, I want to turn to the signal questions in just a second. But first off the top here, I just want to get your reaction. This news is that the U.S. Appeals Court has upheld the lower court ruling that the temporary block on the Trump administration's deportation of Venezuelan migrants under the Alien Enemies Act is going to continue to stay in place. Is that the right call?
I think it is the right call. I think, I fear even with that call, we could be headed to a constitutional crisis as this administration, thinks it can intimidate judges and go against rulings. I'm glad to see that at least, I believe this was at the appellate level, that the appellate level stuck to rule of law and recognized, we want to get rid of the bad guys, but if you've got legal status here, there is some due process you have to go through.
All right, Senator, let's turn back to what, of course, I know you have been focused on over the last 48 hours since we learned about this group chat. It's like more than 48 hours now. You heard what Trump administration officials have been saying across the board, that there was no classified information that was in this chat. Are they lying to the American people?
I don't think they're telling the truth, and it doesn't pass the smell test. Let me give you the two pieces of this that are so obvious. The policy dispute between the vice president and the back and forth, that's the kind of information that intelligence services, literally Russia or China, would kill for. Having that kind of exposure to private conversations. Second, but even more troubling, the idea that the specific plans of when an attack was going to be launched against the Houthis and the ramifications of that, there is no way in hell that that's not classified information. And anybody who denies that is either ignorant or trying to obfuscate. And let me just bring it home. I mean, we've got the USS Truman is the aircraft carrier that's deployed in that region. It deploys from Norfolk, Virginia. We've had outreach from family members who say, my son or daughter safe flying in that region. If that information had been given to the Houthis and they could have turned their defensive mechanisms, they have shot down American planes or drones in the past. We could have had a tragedy here. The mission, in terms of the bombing, was successful, granted, but the idea that we would put American soldiers in harm's way because this crowd was so careless and so sloppy that they didn't communicate this on a secure channel is jaw-dropping. And again, let's be clear, this is not the first time. 2 weeks into this administration, they inadvertently revealed the identities of about 200 new CIA agents. How are any of those agents going to be able to be posted abroad? We've seen them, the Doge boys, post a series of properties they thought the government should sell. Well, one of those happened to be a classified site.
Yeah.
Almost daily, there's information that leaks out either from ignorance or malfeasance from the Doge guys that don't always make the news, but are about violating Americans' privacy rights. So this administration's careless, sloppy towards classified and, frankly, Americans' private information is rank incompetence.
Sir, you, of course, have served in at a very high level on the Senate Intelligence Committee as chairman, as vice chairman. There has been some reporting about recent notification to DoD employees that the Signal app had a vulnerability that was being exploited potentially by adversaries. Is there anything you can share with us about whether that's true? Do you think that our adversaries can exploit a vulnerability in this app?
There is public reporting. I'm not going to talk about classified. There is public reporting that our adversaries, specifically Russia and China, are trying to go after encrypted apps like Signal and others. And there is clear guidance from the agency that you don't use this application for classified or sensitive information. And the plans of an attack on a hostile entity with specific times, that kind of information being released ahead of time or being exposed, anybody that tries to defend that, I don't know what planet they're living on, and it frankly insults the intelligence of the American public to say that. And again, I'd point anybody who makes that case. Let's get some of the parents of the sailors on the USS Truman and see what they think about that kind of information.
So, Senator, the White House press secretary today did invoke your name from the podium. I think we should be clear that they are leveling all sorts of criticism at people who have said that this was wrong, including, of course, the journalist Jeffrey Goldberg. I want to show you what was said. I'm sure you've seen it. Our viewers may not have. I just want you to have the chance to respond to it. Sure. Let's watch.
Here's just one example of how bad faith the Democrats' criticisms are. Democrat Senator Mark Warner is hysterical over the use of Signal, which is an approved decrypted app, in the killing of Houthi terrorists. But Senator Warner himself used Signal to work with a lobbyist for a Russian oligarch to connect with the disgraced Steele dossier author who started the Russia hoax, which Jeffrey Goldberg later reported on. How ironic.
What do you have to say to the White House press secretary?
What I'd say is nothing in that conversation where I was contacted was classified. And secondly, it kind of makes my case. If they've got copies of that communication, that proves in itself that Signal is not a safe way to transmit, classified information. It is not a secure, channel. So I think they actually make the. Am I surprised that they're going like this and let's see who else we can blame? Or am I surprised that they didn't even have, the people who testified yesterday didn't even have the basic decency to say, hey, colossal screw up here, we screwed up, but we're going to do better? They try to bull their way through. And on this one, when you're going to have potential of American service members' lives in harm's way, when you have, I wish I could talk about our partner countries around the world who are saying, God, we got to rethink this whole relationship with America. We're going to go from America first to America alone, and that makes us less safe. And again, don't take my word for it. Look at the countries like Poland and Germany and Canada rethinking buying our jets. Trump shut off some of our visibility from our commercial satellites. American commercial satellites going to get no more business because of the arbitrariness and the sloppiness of this administration. So I'm not surprised at all. But we're going to stay on this because we don't even know if they've taken possession of the phones to make sure there's not malware on them.
Really interesting, sir. Quickly before I let you go. Sure. You said today that that it is clear that Tulsi Gabbard, and the CIA director Ratcliffe lied to you about military specifics. Are you saying that they committed perjury, and are there consequences? Should there be consequences for that?
I went to law school, but I'm not going to opine on legal decision. I know this. Go back and read the transcript. No classified information, no military plans, and look what came out today. What I'm just amazed at is why they didn't even prep. Did they really think they could buffalo their way through this and obfuscate? Again, it's a level of arrogance and incompetence that frankly is terrifying, and is so why I'm so kind of upset is this puts our guys and gals in harm's way. This ruins our relationships around the world, and it is a continued pattern of sloppiness. These are important positions, and this is why, for example, I voted against Gabbard and Hegstaff. These are important positions. You got to take these jobs seriously. Yeah. And so far, I sure as heck don't regret those negative votes on those folks.
All right. Senator Mark Warner, very grateful for your time today, sir. Thanks very much for being here. Hope you come back.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next here, a lawsuit now filed in federal court over the group text. The details of what's being alleged.